Hey, how you doing? Weren't expecting another part of it. So what I'm doing is working on some materials at the moment. It may be a bit noisy, by the way. You have to bear with me. There's various kind of little people running around at the moment. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a procedural material for this. We're going to make a few actually, because what we need to do is kind of isolate a few parts of this model where we're going to do different textures. Now what I'm going to do first, and I think what's going to be easiest, really, if I'm being honest with myself, is kind of maybe just texture one of the guns, like that, and then I can use this one gun here to copy across and use it on the others, yeah? Alright. Now, what I need to do is make my base material, and I'm going to make a kind of tactile kind of metal material using ray trace. So, I've opened my material and double-clicked on a material slot there to bring up the preview. Now I'm going to press F10, and this will bring up my mental ray window, well, my assigned renderer, render scene, blah 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 blah. Here I'm going to click mental ray renderer. Under renderer I'm going to increase my samples per pixel to 116, minimum and max, okay. Now if I click render, there it is there, okay, so it's just a bit of the model. Okay, just do that again so it's properly in the screen. Okay, so you can see pretty much what we're working on now. Let's get a fair angle to work from. Okay, now I'm going to move this over here, close my render options down, and go to my material editor. Okay, first things first, I tend to assign this first of all to the barrel and the legs and the ground, just so I can see what I'm working on. And if I do a quick render now, you'll see they've changed colour. Okay, and I'm going to rename this as a basic metal once I've changed it. Now, we're going to start with a ray trace. And I'm going to call this basic metal. Okay. Now, first thing I want to start is I'm going to make it an anisotropic. And I'm going to give it a specular level and all the other bits later on. First, I'm going to go straight down to maps and work on the bump. Jump into bump, go to mix. In the first slot of mix, I'm going to do it again. And I want to go to noise. Now, as you see, already we get this kind of cobbly, knackered up look. Fantastic if you want a knackered up looking kind of gun, which we don't. And it won't work anyway particularly well. So what I'm going to do first is change the size down to about 0.5. And that'll give us this kind of grainy look going on here, yeah? Okay, let's go back. In the second slot, I'm going to stick some more noise. Wow. So the second noise I'm going to use, I'll have high of 0.8, a size of about 1.5, and a low of about 0.2. Third slot, which is the mix amount, I'm going to put another map in here, and it's going to be noise yet again. So let's just find our noise. Here it is. And as you see, when I apply the basic noise, we're kind of getting quite a nice texture going on here, but kind of an elephant skin thing. I'm going to lower that to about 3 and give it a low of not 0.3, a low of 0.3 there. Change this to fractal and give it a phase of about 1, not 12. There we go. Back up, and then back up again. So here's our mix map here, yeah? Now then, what I'd actually like to do is, I'll just drag that to this lower slot here. And if I go back into my mix slot here now, I'm going to apply these three as a copy straight back into there to make it slightly more complicated. And then down here in the third slot, I'm going to change this to a cellular. Discard the old map. You'll see a slight change in there. Now, I'm going to change my size down to about 1.5. I'm not going to make them chips because that's no good to me. Possibly move them on to fractal. Nice. Bring it back up twice. And now in here I'm going to change the bump amount to 12. Okay, so this gives this kind of uneven surface here with our highlights on, yeah? If I just do a quick render and bring my render window over, should really leave it open, you can see, it's probably going to be slightly easier to see if I increase the size of the render window actually. There we go. Now wait, bring it over. You can see we're getting this kind of rough look to our metal, which is kind of what I was after really. I just need to zoom in a bit and just have a quick check on that. Still a little bit rough in places, possibly needs to be smoothed down a little bit more. So if I go into my bump and check my cellular map here, change the size down to 0.75. In the second noise map here, I'm going to change our size to about 0.85. Just really reducing the size of these as much as possible. In this mix here, I'm going to reduce the size down to 1.25. There we go. Now, do a quick render. And yep, that's a lot less rough now. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere. Okay, now that we exit out of this, I'm going to go up to my specular level here, and I'm going to make that 222 with a glossiness of 88. And an anisotropy, or whatever the hell you want to call it, of 70. Nice long highlight. Okay, back into the diffuse slot here. And in there, I'm going to go for an ambient reflective occlusion base. There we go. And I'm going to change my samples here to 32. The spread, I'm going to reduce a little bit. I'm going to make to 0.7. I'm not going to make it reflective, and in the bright area here, I'm going to pick a nice metal loom map. Now this will get dark quick, so I'm just going to click on background so you can see how reflective it is. Now this is too reflective, as you can see, it's way too reflective, but that's okay. If we bring the surface reflectivity down to about 0.2, it'll become much brighter, but we can change our surface material to this nice dark grey here. And for the hue, I'm going to move it to a nice slight blue. Just change the saturation just a tiny bit. There we are, like that. I can blur the reflection if I want, but really I don't really see the point. Okay, do a render. It'll take a little bit longer this time to do the render, but you'll see the difference already. We now have highlights showing up nicely. The actual material we're using looks kind of rough. We've got self-shadowing coming in. Starting to work quite nicely there. I mean, we haven't even got any lighting in the scene yet either. So that's a good start. If you look, we've got some nice firm bright highlights there as well. So it looks like it's been enameled in places perhaps. Okay, just let this finish its thing. Done. Alright, now we've got this nice basic material here, which we've called our basic metal. Now if I do a shift and drag, we've made a copy of our basic metal, and I want to call this basic metal, and we're going to add a bit more yellow to this one. So if I go into my brightness here, change our surface hue to yellowy. It's a really dirty yellow as well. And just lighten it up. Not too much, obviously. There we go. You see that we get this much brighter kind of colour coming in now. It is a bit green, to be honest, but I might just darken that down just a tiny bit. There we go. Just a little bit more. Now, again, I'm going to drag this one over to here and go into my brightness. And this time I'm going to bring it right up to an incredibly sunny, funny yellow. And I'm going to call this BY. For bright yellow, obviously. Okay, now I've got to pick some parts of this that I'm going to be doing different things with. Oh, and I forgot, I need a kind of light chrome as well, so just drag that over, and I'm going to call this LC for light chrome. And an important thing, actually, while I'm thinking about it, is I'm going to change the anisotropy values of these things. This one I'll change to 66, I think. By doing this, you see the reflective grain on the metal isn't exactly the same. So it's quite a bit of a swizz, but it works nicely for us. Okay, let's go in here to our surface material property and just lighten it way up like that. There, nice light grey. Alright, now it's just a case really of kind of painting by numbers as much as anything. I'm going to bring this down because we don't need all our materials visible, or all the kind of options for our materials visible. and head into this dialog here. Now, just going to do a marquee select there, and holding down Control, do it again here. Okay, now I've got to deselect some of these parts here, so use my select tool. Which can be a bit of a bugger to see, quite frankly, with all this lovely glossy kind of reflecting going on. And yes, I could set these all up as material IDs. No, I'm not going to at the minute because I'm just fast zooming through my model. Yeah, that's going to be fine that way. Deselect that one and that one. Now I've got to do it again, another couple of times. It pays to think exactly how 3ds Max is going to apply shrinks and grows. And if you can kind of suss that out a little bit, then it's a lot easier to plan ahead. There we go. Now go around the other side again. I'm being careful to look out for any kind of polys I may have retextured without realizing, really. There we go. Okay, now, using our shrink tool, like that, we then get this piece here. Okay, and this piece here we can apply our lighter chrome to. So, just drag this up just a tiny bit, like so. Then, if I do a Control I to select the inverse, we can then apply this to the other bits. Now you won't see much of a difference until it actually comes to the render time. So I'll just quickly kick off our render. Render. There we go. Just wait so we can see the difference at the top of our lovely stick. Sorry, leg. There you go. You can see like the chrome plum now coming out of that. And what I can do is reduce the reflectivity on the other metal as well, I think, because it's a little bit too reflective. I'll just cancel out on that. Right, so over here, I'll just expand this and bring our specular level for this down to 88 as well. And a glossness of 44, say. There we go. Actually a bit less, 55. A bit more, sorry, 55. Maybe 99 on the spec. There we are. There, that'll do it. Okay, now we're over here on the gun itself. So open my materials again, and I'm going to apply my material to the gun. Now, if I press F4 so I can actually get in and see what I'm doing, I'm going to select right the way through here like that, and then just go through selecting these bits, and here. Oops. top there. Like I say, Control Z is going to be your very bestest new friend here. It's very easy to make some mistakes. And not just the ones I appear to have made it modelling where I've accidentally chamfered that line. Okay, so we've got that piece. Now what we want to do is continue it and make it look like it's gone through here as well. So there we go. And we're going to have it all the way to this end here. I'm afraid this is really kind of a manual piece. There we go, just click grow once. And just need to, oops-a-daisy, go around here. As I say, the problem we've got here is just getting it to recognise the fact that we're selecting these polygons. I absolutely hate trying to select these bits. It's always a nightmare. See what I mean? Now this bit's deselected. Hey. Sometimes they really need to look at their selections tools for 3ds Max. Nearly there. My goodness, I actually selected them. Okay, so with these ones selected, I'm going to apply a nice yellow to them. Why? Why not? That's what I say. Now down here at the bottom, I'm going to apply these as our green. Just go through these. Okay, that seems absolutely fine. Okay, that looks fine. There we go. Okay. Okay, now, and that about done. Let's go to our front viewport. And I'm just going to copy this once straight into there. Like so. Okay, that's one copy. And now I'm going to copy it again. Not that part. This part. There we go. Okay, and that copies our gun base. Then over here, I'll just make this our kind of metal again. As for our tubes over here, what have we got at the moment for materials? Let's see. Subsurface scattering, physical materials. Fast material, that sounds ideal. Let's see, what have we got? It's a little bit skin coloured, possibly. In fact, it's quite a lot skin coloured. Let's see, front surface scatter colour. Straight out to a nice blue. And the back surface scatter colour, we're going to change to a much darker blue. Overall diffuse coloration, I'll bring that down a bit. Unscattered diffuse colour, I'm going to bring right the way down. Gives us this really nice kind of bluey thing here. Now I'll just apply that to them. And hit F4. Okay, and for the ground itself, what could be better than, I suppose, a good old ambient occlusion, basic. There we are. And I'll stick on 48 samples for that. That way it'll pick up some self-reflecting quite nicely. And so let's have a look if I hit F9 and see what happens. Will 3ds Max just die? There's a chance. Yep, that's looking okay. I'm quite pleased with that. So we have our, hasn't even got a name yet. An ion scattergun, perhaps? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, I'm really quite pleased with how this has came out. Okay, so last thing we need to do really then is save the materials we've used so we can use them another day. And I'm just going to call this our blue hose because it worked nicely as a blue hose. So let's see. Here it is. Put to library, and I'm going to call it blue hose. Put this to library. It's basic metal. This means we can use these all again some other time, you see. And it saves us having to make them all up, especially this rather useful basic metal here. Okay, so that's our little material library put together, and we now have our ion cannon here, which really does work quite nicely. Okay, so thanks for watching, and see you in a bit.